Greetings, Elder Amanuel. We so appreciate your remarkable leadership as always. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our community of practice, sir.
Thank you, my brother Victor. Really excited to be in conversation again with you. My name is Amanuel Melles, Aman for short. I hold the space as the executive director for my colleagues at the Network for the Advancement of Black Communities. We've been now about 7, 8 years since we started NAPSI, and we're exclusively focusing on systems transformation for Black communities. Basically, our clients are Black organizations, Black leaders, governments, and philanthropy to try to create the conditions for collaboration. We do that by convening. We do a lot of knowledge mobilization, service coordination. We're doing incubation of initiatives and projects such as projects around Black food sovereignty, housing, Black mental health. And we do a lot of work around trying to bring together Afrocentricity and systems transformation and infusing this practice and field of systems thinking, systems change with Afrocentricity. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your leadership and all the work that you're doing on behalf of so many. You've really charted a path for so many emerging leaders, especially Black-led, Black-focused, Black-serving, Black-mandated organizations across Canada to amplify not just our work and our voices, but create a legacy as it relates to eldership, mentorship, and guidance. My next question specifically is around the Canadian Forum for Social Innovation. You recently attended the conference. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any actual insights you could share.
Yeah, the recent held forum in Halifax was an interesting platform where we had the opportunity to hear from a number of leaders from various subsectors, if you want, in our large, so to speak, social innovation sector and community sector, from academia and so on. What I found interesting was a different format in terms of really engaging, allowing people to really almost like using a fishbowl-like approach where, for a large gathering, there was an opportunity for people in small groups and in plenary to provide feedback. I found the format really inclusive, open, and engaging. There was some really bold ideas and programs that people are working that were shared. I think the one of the things that caught my attention as I'm in these large gatherings, and often that's kind of the nature of the work that we do in knowledge mobilization and connection with so many actors, is I always look for the inclusiveness of the space. So I was pleased to see a lot of effort was made, but still we need to really bring a lot of our Black leaders to this space. And I can talk more about this later on, but that's also something that I noted in terms of social innovation. And I think one of the things that interests me in coming to this space is my brother is like, I've always said, and as you know, I sit on the board of Social Innovation Canada. I've always said that we need to bring innovation to the streets of our communities. Uh, Next to Indigenous communities in this country, we have a lot of people of African descent that are on the margins of this country. You pick any ism, whether it's housing, health, or income security, and any of the social determinants of health. So the gravity and the scope of the challenges are such that we need actually to bring innovation, and we cannot have our leaders in our communities remain as observants, if you want, on the periphery, looking at what's happening. And so I go to the spaces. I'm looking back and saying, who are the Black leaders that are with me in these conversations? It's critically important from a focus on solutions for our community. So from that angle, I think the forum, proposed some interesting things that we can consider as we move forward in terms of different approaches and a call to leadership, if you want. And my lens is saying, okay, again, as we do in systems transformation, what's Afrocentric social innovation? When we bring Afrocentricity into the space, how we do this differently is some of the questions that come to mind. Yeah.
That's incredible. I love the way you frame those sentiments of never going alone. I always say we need some form of a black-led declaration of interdependence, where because we are interdependents and the way we are in relation to each other matters. And I really love the fact that you were able to just name that many of our colleagues are on the margins, the periphery of the economy and various ecosystems. So the fact that innovation sometimes has this lens of an ivory tower and it's solely that knowledge is held within academia, it creates dynamic where theory and practice are disconnected. So when we bring together these thought leaders and practitioners, it's so important to make sure that we censor justice, access, inclusion, diversity, decolonization, equity, and all those pieces. So my next question to you is, in terms of where the Canadian Forum for Social Innovation currently is, what are some suggestions or recommendations you have as it relates to advancing that work? You did mention African-centered principles or Afrocentricity in systems thinking and social innovation. I'd love to hear more about some of the recommendations you have around advancing the work of the Canadian Forum for Social Innovation.
Thanks for that question. I think one of the things that we need to do, um, as you know, we said in the African sense that it takes a village to raise a child. And in the work that we're doing at NABS in really engaging Black leaders, others in the larger Canadian space, we also say like it actually takes a village to raise solutions for Black communities. And so for us, I think one of the important things is connect the dots. So the forum, in terms of its next permutation, one of the things that we need to seriously think is how do we craft space so there is a deep dive into Blackness? And that means, really bringing Black leaders, as we have done in housing, for example. We worked with the Canadian Housing Renewal Association, and we sponsored and supported close to 20 Black leaders to attend the Housing Congress because, if we're not intentional about creating that capacity for people to be part of these conversations, find themselves in this space, then, as I was saying earlier on, they are reduced to observers. And so one of the things that I would love to see is the forum as it prepares for the next large gathering, does, customize deep dives with Black community leaders in terms of getting them into that space. By doing that, what do we have the opportunity here? We have the opportunity actually to really bring together, the work that has been done under the umbrella of the Permanent Forum of People of African Descent, the Sustainable Development Goals, yeah, as happened recently at the Victoria Forum. All the work that has been happening that you're leading at SETSI and NAPSI and the new players that we have in the ecosystem. We have such a vibrant and strong Black ecosystem at the moment that needs to be really brought into the mainstream space, so to speak, to really inform and enhance and strengthen how we do social innovation in a different way. So one of those is actually around the work, for example, of social innovation at the Halifax Forum. There was a bit of mention around is paying attention to different ways of knowing and doing. There is an indigenous way of knowing. So there is an African, as you know, as an African way of knowing and doing. And so we cannot do that in isolation. We cannot do that by, frank speaking, I love to be in these spaces, by picking and having people like me and you and others to be in this space. We need to look back and see, bring along with us the ecosystem leaders. I'm talking about the Black ecosystem leaders into the spaces. When we do that, then we have a greater capacity of collaboratively of shifting the mindset, if you want, of our own social innovation leaders in the country. One of the things that NAPSI has done, for example, post-COVID, was work with Imagine Canada and others to co-create the Equitable Recovery Collective. That work came out of a realization that the agents of change, I'm talking about the sector organizations, sector leaders outside Black communities, they need to look themselves at the mirror and say, how are we actually creating the conditions for bringing others into this space? So we want to change systems, government systems, philanthropic systems. At the forefront of this change, we have a number of agents of change, a lot of them convening at the Halifax Forum. We need them also to look at the mirror and change. How am I actually being not so much only an ally, how I'm intentionally opening up the doors and allowing other, leaders, indigenous, racialized, Black leaders to be on in this space. As you know, there has been a lot of work around developing the Halifax Declaration, yeah, and the Halifax Black Manifesto. There are all these big things that have been done, the permanent forum, the, but all these are now becoming kind of pillars in a silo. We need to bring them together, and my hope is that the next forum will create the conditions for intentional engagement with Black leaders so that we have more of those influence in this forum the next time around.
That's absolutely brilliant. My second last question is more around some definitions and terminology. So, when we think about the construct or the concept of social innovation, a lot of time it's from a very Eurocentric perspective. I know that NAPSI has done some remarkable work in terms of systems thinking and social innovation with partners from across the world, especially the global South, primarily in South Africa. I'd love for you to amplify some of that work because a lot of times I participate in various conferences across Canada, and the gold standard is thought leadership from the UK or from the global North. And there's almost a dismissive, exclusionary model as it relates to insights, practices, promising models from various jurisdictions in the global South. So I'd love to learn more about your thoughts around social
Oh, for sure.
thinking.
Thanks for bringing that up, my brother. I think, 3 years or now, we joined a large Canadian delegation to the UK on social innovation exchange, and we made an effort to ensure that there were at least 10 to 12 Black leaders included from across Canada into that delegation. In the exchange there, even with folks in London, England, Black folks that are doing amazing work there, we realized that we're not doing enough work to actually connect to the diaspora and the global South. Yeah. Out of that realization, I think last year we intentionally developed a relationship with the Nelson Mandela University, an entity there, and CSC Innovation, a South African innovation entity. And what we did together was like we organized these three important learning sessions where we had the diaspora and the global South involved in certain how would systems transformation be different if we bring an Afrocentric lens to it. So what we have done is we started now to open the doors to build these conversations, and the hope is that a lot of my systems change and systems transformation knowledge came 20, 25 years ago, springing from the work that Otto Scharmer and Senge and others have done. And in my last engagement with Otto and Senge 2 years ago, I said to them, as they are doing now, looking at the relational systems transformation or systems change from an indigenous lens, we need to do the same thing when it comes to the African ways of knowing. And so what we're doing now, we're literally asking ourselves, as we do program design, work with funders, evaluation work, capacity building work, how will we do this different if we bring an African lens to it? And so for me, it's just like here's a huge opportunity for all of us collectively to really enrich the field of social innovation, the work of social innovation, by actually bringing traditional knowledge systems, especially those of from an African lens. So we are the challenge is up, the call of leadership is out to really infuse this field with knowledge and practice that actually brings a new terminology and vocabulary around understanding, Afrocentricity. As you know, in the African sense, our values are so varied and rich. There's an opportunity for us to say, okay, beyond just saying Ubuntu, all the other value systems that we have, what does it mean when we do funding? What does it mean when we do capacity building? Innovation is kind of sometimes relegated to commercialization and business lens perspectives. We need to go back to the basics around some of this. at program level, at community level. There's so much creativity and innovation that's happening that we need to lift up. And there is an opportunity for us to do this um, together with colleagues in the larger space, the Canadian space. But as I said, there's an opportunity for us. My brother, we have to mainstream social innovation, Afrocentric social innovation in our communities. We have to create the opportunities for our leaders to sit at the Canada table to be able to influence this. At the moment, there's just few of us, and we need to be diligent to open the doors together with the rest.
I love that. We have to mainstream African-centered social innovation. Well done, Elder. My last question, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for the community of practice?
Um, but I have one. There are few, but I just want just to mention one, and the one that I would like to mention is work with us to create the space, intentional space to bring Black leaders who are doing amazing work in various subsystems of the Black ecosystem to really inform the next version of the forum. Because like this action plan and this big gathering that we have of thinkers and practitioners and knowledge brokers around social innovation in Canada must include the thought and the practice and the experience of our Black leaders. So one call of action I have is work with us together to so that we can bring amazing thinking and practice that's out there in the Black space in this country.
I couldn't agree more. The thought leaders, the practitioners, the knowledge brokers within our community need to be at the table in terms of identifying themes, programmatic issue areas, and censoring worldviews and perspectives that aren't so singular. So once again, I just applaud your leadership, Elder, and I give thanks for your time on behalf of my colleagues.
My brother, thank you so much. As usual, I grow after each conversation, and I'm all the better off for it. So thank you.
Gracias.